In the NFL, we appreciate the winners. Tom Brady's 7 rings, the 72 Dolphins, Don Shula's 347 career wins. These feats are recognized by NFL fans, and we give them their flowers year after year. But I want to go against the grain, and I want to shed some light on the NFL's biggest losers. These players, teams, and coaches didn't have the same level of success, but their efforts still deserve to be recognized. So in this video, let's go through the losingest players, teams, and coaches, and some other impressive losing feats throughout the history of the National Football League. First, we're going to look at the position that often gets blamed for their team's losses, whether it's really their fault or not, and that is, of course, the quarterback. From 1971 to 1984, the patriarch of the Manning family, Archie Manning, amassed a 35, 101-3 record as a starter, which gives him a winning percentage of 26.3. This percentage is the worst in NFL history among all quarterbacks with at least 100 starts. There were 7 times where Manning had 2 or fewer wins in a season, but in his defense, he only played a full season 4 times in his career. But even in all of his truncated seasons, Archie Manning never had a season where he ended the year with a winning record, with his closest attempt coming in 1979 where he went 8-8. He did have 2 back-to-back Pro Bowl seasons in 78 and 79, which were by far the Saints' 2 most successful seasons during the 70s. But Manning got sacked a lot. More specifically, 337 times during his career with the Saints. This led to injury issues and a lot of time missed throughout his career. Now, Archie Manning may be the first in the long lineage of it's not his fault quarterbacks. Those Saints teams were god-awful, and the Saints were called the Aints during the 1980 season, where they nearly went defeated with a 1-15 record, with fans showing up to games with paper bags over their heads. Manning bounced around a few teams starting in 1982, but from 1982 to 1984, Manning was unable to win a single game while serving as starting quarterback. He retired as never having played on a team with a winning record or made the playoffs, and he is one of the few players to have played 10+ seasons in the NFL and never have taken part in a playoff game. Although Archie Manning had the worst winning percentage for any quarterback with at least 100 starts, Vinny Testaverde has the highest number of losses among all quarterbacks in NFL history. Testaverde had a long 21-year career in the NFL with 7 different teams spanning across 3 decades. The former first overall draft pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't have his first winning season as a starter until he was on his second team in the Cleveland Browns, where he went 9-4 as a starting QB and even won a playoff game that year. Following that 1994 season, Testaverde had 3 straight years where he only won 4 games as a starter with both the Browns and the Ravens, before bouncing back in a huge way, going 12-1 as a Jets starter in 98. After missing most of the 1999 season, Testaverde went 9-7 and 10-6 in back-to-back years. In the 2000 season where the Jets went 9-7, Testaverde had some standout performances, like against the Dolphins on Monday Night Football, where the Jets were down 30-7 heading into the 4th, and proceeded to come back in a 40-37 overtime win, with Testaverde throwing for 5 touchdowns. Also in the final game of the 2000 season, he threw for 481 yards against the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, but the Jets lost because he also threw 3 picks, had 2 fumbles, and was 36 of 69 passing. Following his 10-6 season, Testaverde had the following records as a starter to end his career: 1-3, 2-5, 5-10, 1-3, and 2-4. He ended his career with 123 losses, the most by a starting quarterback in NFL history. Now that number isn't great, but Testaverde did still have 90 wins in his career, which is 90 more wins than this next quarterback had. DeShone Kizer's winless NFL career really can't be placed at his feet alone. He just so happened to be placed as the captain of a sinking ship, or really a sunk ship, in the 2017 Cleveland Browns, who of course went defeated that year and went 1-15 the year before. In his 15 starts and 15 losses, Kizer threw 22 interceptions, got sacked 38 times, fumbled the ball 9 times, and had a 53.6% completion percentage. And it sucks for Kizer because some of these games had really close finishes, like in Week 1 where the Browns lost by 3, in Week 3 where they lost to the Colts by 3, and in Week 5 where they lost to the Jets by, guess how much? 3. Another 3-point loss in Week 7, but this time in overtime to the Titans. And then a bunch of 2-score losses until another overtime loss to the Packers, but this time by 6. Then ended the year with another close loss to the Steelers, but this time by 4. The story of DeShone Kizer's career in the NFL is an extremely cautionary tale of a quarterback that needed development, as so far as his college coach Brian Kelly saying that with Kizer, there's a lot of growth that has to take place. And whoever takes DeShone, he's not a finished product. And he's just not complete yet. And you're going to have to support him with great leaders around him and great leadership. Even with all of that being said, well before the start of the NFL season, Hugh Jackson and the Browns named Kizer as a starting QB and set him up for a winless career. Speaking of winless QBs, since 1950 there have only been 4 quarterbacks that have started their careers 0-11. Stan Gelbaugh and Troy Aikman started their careers 0-11. Jack Trudeau started 0-12. And of course, DeShone Kizer is at the top with an 0-15 record, and unless every quarterback in the NFL, UFL, and CFL get injured at the same time, he likely won't have a chance to get his first win in the NFL ever again. Spencer Rattler was awfully close to joining this esteemed club if he didn't get his first win against the Giants in Week 5, but now he's safe. Now, before we get to the final quarterback I wanted to specifically highlight, let's go through some other interesting QB loss stats out there. Eli Manning owns the record for the most regular season and postseason home losses for a starting QB at 58 losses from 2004 to 2019. On the other side, Brett Favre owns the record for the regular season and postseason road losses at 83 from 1992 to 2010. Mike Glennon has the worst winning percentage among all quarterbacks with at least 25 starts, sitting at 19.4%. And among active starting QBs, Bryce Young has the worst percentage at 24.2%. Lastly, Dan Pastorini has the most consecutive losses by a starting QB at 21 from 1972 to 1974. Yikes. Now, this last quarterback losing stat that I wanted to highlight has been making the rounds lately, and honestly, it's kind of unbelievable. And that is that Justin Fields is 0-26 as a starter when his opponents score 21 or more points. This is one of those stats that doesn't really make sense, but then I thought about it, and I don't really recall Fields ever pulling out a win in a shootout before. So I went through each of these losses to see what I could find. In these 26 losses, Fields' defense let up 32.5 points, while Fields led his offense to just over 20 points per game. And this stat can seem a little disingenuous because there have been games like when the Bears won 40-20 against the Commanders in 2023. There have also been times where he's gotten really close to winning these high-score games, like in Week 1 of this season, where the Jets narrowly lost out to the Steelers by 2 in a 32-34 loss. Or last season, where Justin Fields and the Steelers lost to the Colts by 3 in a 24-27 loss. Or in 2023, when the Bears just lost out to the Broncos by 3 in a 28-31 loss. But I also bring these specific games up because Fields has shown throughout his career, literally across 3 different teams, that he has trouble leading game-winning drives. Like in Week 1, although he did score a touchdown to put the Jets up by 1 with 7 minutes left, with just under a minute left and with the ball at the 31 only needing a field goal, Fields completed his first pass and then had 3 straight incompletions, which led to a turnover on downs at the end of the game. In 2024 against the Colts, Fields actually turned it up towards the end of the game with 3 straight touchdown drives from the end of the third quarter to put the Steelers within 3 points with 3:40 left. So after a Colts 3 and out, Fields had the ball back with 2:39 left and started out the drive well, converting 2 first downs. But after an early snap that led to a loss of 12 yards, the drive sputtered out and the Steelers eventually had a turnover on downs that led to another close loss for Fields. This one was sad because he was looking really good this game and ended the game with 300 passing yards and 3 combined touchdowns. And he had some momentum on that final drive, but a loss is a loss. And lastly, in 2023, the Bears matched up against the Broncos, and I remember feeling like this was a coming out party for Fields as a passer. He ended the game with 335 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. But again, down 3, with the ball, and 1:46 left in the fourth, Fields started out the drive well, getting the Bears to around midfield. But then, there was an intentional grounding call, and then 2 plays later, an interception on a pass intended for Cole Kmet at the end of the game, which set the Bears back to 0-4 that season. I'm not here to shit on Justin Fields because battling against 32.5 points per game in these losses is a very tough hill to climb, but I couldn't help but to include this stat because it's just so ridiculous. Now let's get to some of the most interesting team-based losing stats that we've seen throughout NFL history. In the 21st century, we've had 2 teams go defeated. That honor, of course, belongs to the Cleveland Browns of 2017 and the Detroit Lions of 2008. But let's take it a step further. Between 1976 and 1977, the newly formed Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost 26 games straight before they finally went on a miraculous 2-game winning streak to end their 1977 season. During this losing streak, they scored 0 points 11 times, had 16 games with 3 or more turnovers, and had 13 games with less than 100 passing yards, including in their second ever game where they had -4 passing yards on the day. But 26 straight losses isn't the longest losing streak in NFL history, because that honor belongs to the Chicago Cardinals, who lost 29 straight games from 1942 to 1945. This did include a season where the team merged with the Steelers during World War II and were renamed to Card Pit. But sports writers use that to label the team the Carpets, like carpets, because they were bad. The Chicago Cardinals could have potentially had 3 straight winless seasons if it wasn't for a Week 4 Chicago-on-Chicago win where they beat the Bears 16-7. But there could have been some foul play involved, as the Cardinals head coach saw 2 men in top coats watching their practice, and he claimed that the car they were driving belonged to a friend of one of the Bears players. This could have been some bulletin board material for the Cardinals team as they won this game and proceeded to go 0-6 to end their season with a 1-9 record. There are more recent losing streaks like the Jags from 2020 to 2021 who lost 20 straight games. The Raiders and the Lions lost 19 straight games, with Detroit having their 0-16 2008 season sandwiched in there. And the Oilers lost 18 straight games from 1972 to 1973, where they went 1-13 in both of those seasons. Just looking at the postseason, the Lions had the longest playoff losing streak at 9 before finally breaking their streak in 2024 against the Rams. And how about the coaches that have done their fair share of losing? Bert Bell, who in his time as Eagles head coach from 1936 to 1941 had a 10-46-2 record, giving him a 17.9% winning percentage. Now you may be wondering, how could a coach with this bad of a record even make it 5 full seasons? Well, that's because he was also the owner, and the only reason why he stepped down is because he sold the team in a very confusing string of events, which eventually led Bell to become the Steelers head coach, where his losing ways continued with an 0-2 start to the season, where Art Rooney convinced him to finally resign. Then Bell became the second ever commissioner of the NFL after he was given a 3-year contract at $20,000 per year. But if you think a 17.9% winning percentage is bad, try 10.5%. Phil Handler has a head coaching record of 3-43. Of guess what team? Yes, the Chicago Cardinals. His 10.5% winning percentage is the lowest of any coach in NFL history, with at least 5 seasons under their belt. But he did still have success in the league because he has 2 NFL championships as an assistant coach, so there's that he can hold on to. In the 21st century, we've had 3 coaches that are towards the top of the list of the worst NFL coaching win percentages. These 3 coaches are Hugh Jackson, Steve Spagnuolo, and Gus Bradley. But the last coach I wanted to bring up might have the most shame on their career just because of who his father was and what he did in the league. Don Shula is the winningest coach in NFL history, the only head coach to win NFL Coach of the Year 4 times, and is a legend of the sport. On the other hand, his son, Dave Shula, has a head coaching record of 19-52, has the honor of being the coach to have lost 50 games faster than any coach in NFL history, and was chosen as the Bengals head coach over Bill Cowher, who proceeded to go 8-1 against Shula during his time with the Steelers. How about for the non-QB Hall of Famers that had great individual success that wasn't enough to pull their teams out of the gutter? Joe Thomas spent his entire 11-year career with the Cleveland Browns. During his career, he made first-team All-Pro 6 times, made second-team All-Pro twice, and is widely regarded as one of the best offensive tackles of all time. Yet, Thomas was never 1-0 in his career. He started out 0-3 6 out of his 11 seasons, and has just had 1 winning season, which was in his rookie year. He finished his career 48-119, which gave him a winning percentage of 28.7%, which is so disappointing for such a legendary player. We also have Dick Butkus, who was on the Bears for 9 years, where he made first-team All-Pro 5 times, went DPOY twice, and finished top 6 in MVP voting 3 straight years. But during his 9-year career, he went 48, 74-4, and only experienced 2 winning seasons, which both came within his first 3 years in the NFL. And lastly, O.J. Simpson had a 32.1% winning percentage in his career, as he went 43, 91-1 during his 11-year NFL career. He made first-team All-Pro 5 straight years, and won MVP and Offensive Player of the Year in 1973, where he ran for 2,003 yards and 12 touchdowns. Simpson only had a winning record 3 times in his career, which were from 73 to 75, and only made the playoffs once. And that is definitely all there is to know about the Juice. I wanted to end this video off with the individual that has the distinguished honor of being the Guinness World Record holder of the most games lost in an NFL career, which is held by kicker Jason Hanson. Jason Hanson had a 21-year career in the NFL, all spent with the Detroit Lions. He holds many NFL records, including most field goals of 40 or more yards, most consecutive field goals of 40 or more yards, most career points with one NFL team, and the first player in NFL history to score 2,000 points with a single franchise. Hanson was the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1992 and remains the only kicker ever given that award. He is a Detroit legend and ranks 4th all-time in points behind Adam Vinatieri and Anderson and Anderson. But the Lions were awful during his entire career, as he only experienced 5 winning seasons, which all happened before the year 2001. There are a few players, both kickers, that come close in total losses, with Phil Dawson with 197 losses and the aforementioned Anderson at 191 losses. But no one besides Jason Hanson has eclipsed the 200 loss mark, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Losing isn't as glamorous as getting a win, but it's a necessary part of our game that makes winning that much sweeter. So shout out to all the losers that are an essential part of the NFL and make this game go.